Welcome to the Prosperity Profiles Podcast, sponsored by Prosperity Profilers, LLC. They'll help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. We hope you listen often, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Now, here's your host, four-time #1 best-selling author, speaker, and business coach, Holly Porter.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the podcast today. So it's a beautiful sunny day where I live, and I have a beautiful sunny gal with me today. So it's all about being sunny and warm. So I appreciate Hayley. How do you say her last name?
Hines.
Hines. I want to make sure I say it right. It's not like French or something.
No, not fancy.
I've had some more. Oh, Hayley, how are you? I'm so glad that you're here with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, and doesn't she have the greatest voice? Like, I love it. It's so calming, and it fits exactly what she does, which is what we're going to be talking about today. It's all about her. So she has a company called Soul Sparkle, and she does global events. And so I've had another guest that does events. And if you heard that podcast, then listen up, because if you are wanting to do your own retreats, Hayley is an expert at this, and she's been doing it for a long time. And we're going to talk about some of the awesome places. Like, she goes far away places, and I'm so jealous. So I need to go on one of these. Okay, she has a book called Soul-Centered CEO. So that one's already out, and we'll talk about that. And we'll also put the link to that where you can get your hands on it. And then she's got a forthcoming book called Soul Sparkle Living. And that is coming out when?
Hopefully this summer. I'm finishing it right now, so super excited.
Yes. Oh, that's way exciting. And your first book was out when?
Just a few months ago.
Gosh.
An ebook, yeah. So
I know. Another action taker. I attract
Mhm.
those, and I love it. Okay, so she's a master mindfulness practitioner. So my first question is, what is that? What's the deuce?
Well, so I think really more and more people are realizing that they want to do life differently, right? They want to learn how to respond rather than react. They want to have that space between, so that way they can choose how they're showing up. And so for me, mindfulness has been a way of incorporating that into eating, into really every aspect of your life, specifically around communication. So I teach a lot of communication around, with partners in usually marriages that need some extra support around communication. So I teach them a lot around the mindfulness, how they can apply that into their in their own personal life, and then also in their relationships. So
nice. And do you work with men and women, obviously?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that for the longest time, it was only women, like all the ladies, right? And most of the retreats and events that I have done have been created specifically for women. But what's been showing up recently, the last few months, has been more couples work. So the women that I've been working with now want their spouse to be sparkly. They're like, we need the men to come. And so I'm creating more opportunities for men to be part of it as well. So, there's a lot of women that as they go on this kind of spiritual adventure and this journey, they start to feel afraid that their husband or their partner will be left behind. Yes. And it creates too much space between. So really what we're trying to do is help the men kind of get in it as well, and stay in it, or at least have a deeper understanding. Yes. So that way they feel like they're part of it as well, versus feeling disconnected. So it's been a really sweet evolution of that.
Well, and I've always said, if you're not growing together, you're growing apart.
Absolutely.
And if one is doing personal development and the other one is not, it shows up in your marriage.
It really does. It really does. And then you come home from events or retreats and you're all excited and you're trying to explain it, and sometimes the men are just like, I don't get it. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know what you're doing, but if you're happy, that's great. But so what we want to try to do is just really help create that connection and communication and a deeper understanding of what actually is happening. So
I really like that. So what are some of the retreats you've had? I know they're all over the world.
Yeah, so I basically find places that light me up, like where my soul sparkles, and then I create the events in those beautiful spaces. So we've had the south of France. I'm going back there in June for another retreat. Scotland, Sacred Valley, Peru, the hills of Tuscany, Paris, and the Champagne region of France, Sedona. I love Sedona. That's a magical place. And then I'm offering my, the next ones will be here in Sonoma, where I am right now this summer. So yeah, all my favorite places around the world, really.
So you go there first, check them out, love them, and say, this is it.
Yeah. And I have been traveling full time for the last 20 months. I mean, I literally just landed for the first time, and I'll be in the same place for a while with a few trips in between. But so I've been traveling full time. And so it's been a really lovely way for me to be able to try on some of these places, like go there and experience it, and then also kind of map out what I would want to create, and then call in the women that want to be part of it. So.
And how long are your retreats usually?
It really depends. They're all very different because, not everyone can get away for 7 days and travel to, other countries. So I like to do anywhere from 3 days to 7 to 10 is probably the longest.
Okay.
Yeah. Like last year we had Italy was 6 days, and we had 2 days between, and then we had Paris for 5 days. And I had a lot of the women came for both of those. So that was probably the longest that I've done.
Yeah, I would say if you're flying from the United States, it would be a lot less expensive for the flights, right? Yeah. From Paris to Italy or Italy to Paris.
Yeah, so you might as well just come and stay for everything.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the experience with each one is probably so different because of the people that come. Don't you find that?
Absolutely. It's always very, very unique. So like I did Paris year before last for the first time. That was 2016. Mm-hmm. And did Paris again. I changed it up just because it makes it more fun for me to do different stuff. Sure. And the experience was completely different because there was a different group of ladies, so it's always very unique to who's there. And then also just the energetics, the container is always a little bit different no matter where you go. So
who's your favorite, like, to bring along, and like that question, and also like what do you do with them so that they know if this is right for them?
Yeah. So women that are normally drawn to my trips are open to adventure. They're not super like attached to all the details in the agenda and itineraries, right? Like that works well. Spaciousness. So part of what I like to do is I create kind of the structure and the bigger rocks of what I want to put in, like the experiences and the teachings that I do, and master classes and, wine tastings or whatever it is. But then I really like to be able to flow based on how the group is feeling, what's happening, what's showing up. So I tend to work better that way with a little bit of structured space, I guess is what I would call it. Okay. So women that are longing for an experience that they may not be willing to go by themselves, or they know they want the combination of incredible cuisine and the culture, but they also really love the deep, like, soul transformational work that we do. So those are kind of women that really feel drawn. Also, the women that really are ready for sisterhood, right? For deep connection with other women. That's really a huge benefit, I would say, of the work that I do is the lifelong relationships that are built out of those experiences together. So, yeah.
So do you do pre-work with them and calls with them before you go on this trip?
We do a little bit. I usually have a conversation with everyone before they're able to sign up, kind of more. I don't really like to use the word application because it sounds kind of snooty, but it's kind of that. It's let's have a conversation to make sure that you understand kind of what you're getting into, I guess, and just make sure it's a good fit, right? So that's the conversation that we have before they're like, okay, I'm in and I'm ready to go. And then sometimes we do have some pre-trip conversations Facebook group so that way they can start to get to know each other. And then I also have kind of a global sisterhood support group on Facebook too. So that way any of the women that have come to any of my events are able to come to be part of that as well. So they can stay connected that way too.
So do the women room together, or do they have their separate rooms?
It depends. Like I said, every experience is different. Most of the time, yeah, it would be a double occupancy.
Sure.
But again, it kind of depends on what experience they're going to.
So what's the best challenges, or how you handle the challenges of other women? Because sometimes women can be, a little catty. I was just curious, how do you handle those?
Yeah, so I don't really attract those women.
Yay.
I'm not available for that. And so most of the women that are drawn to me, they're no longer, that's an old paradigm.
Yeah.
So I have a zero tolerance policy really for that.
I love that.
I'm a big believer, and kind of the one rule that I have, I don't do rules very well, but the one rule I have is to speak your truth, right? So I have an agreement that I make at the beginning of any retreat or experience, and I just ask, if I don't know what's happening with you, I can't help you, I can't support you, I can't fix it or whatever. So if there's something that's showing up that you need, or something's not working or whatever, speak your truth, and then that allows me to do the best I can to make it happen. So that, I think, as women is a challenge sometimes, because we're not taught to ask for what we want, right? And so I really try to give them permission to ask for what they desire and to speak their truth, so that way they have the most beautiful experience that's available.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your two books. Your first one,
Soul-centered CEO. Yeah. So really what I've realized is that there are a lot of us that are no longer satisfied with like our corporate job or the way we've always done everything. And so really this piece of work is around how to lead from the place between your divinity and your humanity, that beautiful sacred space where you're both divine and human, right? And how can you show up and embody really sovereignty as a soul-centered CEO? And so that's been super fun to work with women in that way as well. And then the next book, this one that's coming out, your guide, it's called Soul Sparkle Living, Your Guide to Creating a Magical Life. And really it's kind of my step-by-step guide of all of the things that I have done to create this life that I'm in right now, which has been extraordinary. Like I said, I put my things in storage 2 years ago. I've been traveling the world, speaking and teaching and doing retreats, which was a huge dream of mine for years, like a decade, over a decade. And so I'm outlining for these folks what is available for them, some of the things that I did that they can implement right away that will help them to create their version of a magical life. It may not be quitting your job and traveling, but that was just my big dream. So, and actually I'd love to gift the listeners just a really simple 7 steps to creating a magical life. It's like a mini version, that it might be a good starting point for some of them that are interested in how to really do life on a magic carpet ride. Like, that's what I call it. So I'd love to give that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll get that link from you, and we will put it in show notes for the listeners so that they can go down and snag that up and get the juicy stuff out of it. And that'll be a good way for them to learn more about you and know that they're going to want that book that's coming out.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. So
and you know what? Don't put a date out there, because you're a flexible person, and that's okay.
That's right. So I figure it'll happen at the appointed time, just like everything else, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I believe more people are starting to believe that.
Yeah.
Depending on what personality style they are.
Right. Well, that's true. For me, it's been a much easier way to stay in a space of ease and grace and flow versus being attached to the outcome, so I much rather, I feel much better when I'm just like, okay, things are always working out for us and things happen for us and not to us. and it's all perfect at the appointed time. So much
So you
easier.
probably get stressed when people want to pinpoint a time or exactness out of you. You're probably like, that doesn't feel right.
Well, it depends on what it is. Like I'm also like always on time, which is interesting. Like I don't like when people are late. To me, that's like super selfish and disrespectful. So I'm super on time. But what I like to explain to people is that um, I want to honor this space for what is in the highest and best for all, right? So if that means we need 30 more minutes to do this one thing, or you need an extra hour of free time to relax today. Like I want to honor what is in the best for everyone. And so I am this weird hybrid, I guess, of like I'm super on time and I'll always be on time, but I also like the possibility of expanding time and space if we need to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does it look like to work with you to do your own retreats?
Yeah. So the one thing that I have started doing this year that I've loved, because you always keep evolving as leaders, right? And so now I've done my own events for so many years that I'm like, I feel like I could help other people make their big dream come true, right? So I do these really lovely intensives called the Create Your Dream Retreat Intensive, and we work very closely together, really getting clear on what the messaging is, what do they want their retreat to be about, how do they want people to feel, and then all the way down to the actual structure. Like we lay out the schedule, the content, what are you going to be teaching, how to structure it, how to market it. So really everything, all of the things that I learned through my own experiences, how can I pass those on to really kind of consolidate the learning curve for people, and become profitable from the very beginning.
Right.
A lot of people lose a lot of money when they try to go down this path. And I'm like, no, we make money as a business.
Yeah.
That's what you do. So I really help them create their version of their dream retreat. So it's been super, super fun. I lead those in Sedona and in Sonoma as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
beautiful. Well,
yeah.
and that a lot of people on the West Coast do retreats, so that's a great audience for you.
And it's beautiful to come and stay here. So I
Oh,
love it.
for
Mm.
sure. I don't know if I've been to Sonoma. I'm gonna have to come check it out.
Gosh, you should come. We're sparkling this summer in July. A really beautiful weekend experience here in the wine country. So we'd love to have you come
Do
sparkling.
you have openings for that? Let's go there.
Yeah, I do. I still do. Yeah, let's
Most
do
of
it.
my July's packed already. However, the listeners maybe aren't. So,
That's right. This is the last weekend in July. So,
so when,
yeah.
what would they do to follow up with you on that? Just
They can go to the website. It's all available on the website, soulsparkleliving.com. So it's Soul Sparkle, like, bright, sparkly, soulsparkleliving.com. And then it's under experiences, and they can choose any of the experiences that are listed there. If they're still listed, that means there's still space available. As soon as they fill, I take them off. So I've got Morocco, I've got the south of France, and then we've got this Sonoma at the end of July. So I'd love to have anyone that feels called.
so how many more do you have this year? Are all those this year?
I've got the south of France in June, Sonoma in July, and then those are the only experiences. Now I also do women's leadership summit around this soul-centered CEO body of work, and that is happening in Paris in November, and then also again at the Plaza Hotel in March in New York City. So yeah, those are bigger, a little bit bigger events. Yeah, which they're spectacular. Like you have to come to that. If you're going to be available in March, it's going to be amazing. It's the second weekend of March, and it's at the Plaza, and probably one of the most magical things I've ever done in my whole life. It was just beautiful. Women gathered together to create businesses to give back. It's a fundraiser for the women's collective that we work with in Nicaragua, where we raise money for homes for the women there.
Yes.
So really everything we do has a give back part into it as well. And so, yeah, I was at an event last weekend, I spoke, and we raised $5,000, which is like half a house, so exciting. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. Well, I've done a lot of charity work through Rotary International.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every year we had a different international project. So we've done wheelchairs and
All the
clean water and schools,
yeah.
wells and bathrooms and all kinds of stuff. And
It's so satisfying, isn't it? It's so lovely. And really my big vision is to help, 1 million women serve 1 million women around the world, right? Like, so creating business models that have a give back component is really important to me. So that's part of what I do as well. So
which where we met is at at Laura Gisborne's in California just a few weeks ago.
Exactly.
So that was amazing.
So lovely.
The touch that, just women can have is amazing. And no offense, men, if you're listening.
We love you too. But there is an element, and I think there's a transition happening right now where women are stepping more into their divine feminine leadership, like their powerful, loving place, right? It's not that old model of the like rough and aggressive and bitchy kind of leadership, but this place from a more grounded and loving place. And it's so exciting to watch it happen, because women do have a heart for service, to take care of each other and to take care of the world. So.
And there's so many good leaders to follow right now, examples from, right? Exactly. And we need to create more of them in our younger generations.
Well, and that's why I created the summit, the Women's Leadership Summit, is because I realized that I didn't have very many role models that I would want to embody. I was like, I don't want to be like any of you, right? And I had to really kind of go my own way in my corporate path before I, quit and flittered around the world. But so now I feel like it's one of my responsibilities and really callings is to help train up the next generation of women leaders. So that's one of my greatest joys too.
Well, okay. So I've loved having you and talking with you, as I always do. Every time we've connected since the event, I've really loved you. You have beautiful heart and soul, and I love the name of your company for that reason. So it fits. So I love that you're on purpose for sure. So we will close by making sure we remind the listeners that your information will be in the show notes.
Yep.
You pick up your 7
steps to creating a magical life.
Magical life. So, I love it. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, and thank you, listeners, for listening, and we will see you on the next show.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Prosperity Profiles Podcast, sponsored by Prosperity Profilers, LLC, helping you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. We hope you enjoyed our time together, and we'll visit again soon. You can learn more about Prosperity Profilers by going to hollyporter.com.